slightly technical glitch as usual. As usual. Just call me Carol, Mr. Carol, Encik Carol should be fine. For webinar today is to brief or to provide a masterclass. Okay, we call it masterclass. Supposed to demo to you is this multiple mobile apps development tools. Okay, so we are going to talk about some tools that is available for multi-platform development, mobile apps development. Most likely you have heard about Android Studio, correct? Yes, okay, there's one of you heard about Android Studio. So I would like to know briefly the subject that you are currently taking, which is the mobile programming. Can somebody describe me what are you learning currently? SQL. So you are using SQL for the local data, localized data, or online database? Localized database, SQLite lah. What are tools? What are the tools that you are currently using? Is it Android Studio or Unity 3D? Android Studio. Okay, sure. So everybody use Android Studio. Did you heard anything about Unity 3D or Flutter or Ionic or React Native before this? Have you ever heard? Have you ever learned? Yes, somebody heard that before. Have you ever learned these tools previously? So I assume no lah. Okay, I just would like to do some background checking before I proceed. So these are what we are going to take home after this short webinar. Okay, we are going to talk about what is multi-platform development tools, and the second one is I'll do some sort of comparison, quick comparison between Ionic and Flutter. Okay, and last one is I would like to demonstrate what are the tools that is available for online database. Okay, so there's some question my student or my training participant previously asked. The question is something like this: can Android Studio develop iOS apps or iPhone apps? Can Android Studio actually develop, okay, an iPhone apps? Can somebody answer that? No. Okay, so basically that is the right answer. So basically that is the right answer. Android Studio basically cannot develop, cannot produce iPhone application. Okay, that is a basic answer, or we call it the short answer. But with the help of some tools, basically you can actually create, or as the what we call as the source code base. Okay, you can create the source code base of an iPhone apps inside Android Studio. Okay, that is a long question, long answer. Okay, by right, Android Studio alone cannot develop iPhone apps by right lah. So there's a lot of multi-platform tools available in the market currently. What do you mean by multi-platform tools? It's actually an IDE, or what we call as a framework, okay, that can be used to develop a source code base, okay, project that can actually deploy to Android phone and also the iPhone. So that is currently what we are talking about multi-platform. So there's also one big platform that we cannot miss, which is the web-based application. Okay, previously we have Windows Phone. Now we only have two main iOS, which is the Android base. Okay, Huawei or something like that. Currently they are using also the app gallery, so we can say that is sort of Android based phone, and the other one is iPhone. Okay, Android based phone and iPhone. Why I said Android based phone, because currently you can see that manufacturer like Xiaomi, Redmi, or even Oppo, they produce some sort of fork, okay, from the Android base. So that's why we call it Android based phone. Okay, this is a fork, or they take it as their own lah. They customize it. They customize the Android OS and make it as their own. Uh, Something like Oxygen OS, Kindle. Okay, that is some sort of Android based phone. So what I'm trying to emphasize today is there any since you are familiar with Android Studio, and obviously you learn coding to develop, you learn the Java programming language. Okay, that's my guess lah. Okay, I guess you are using Android Studio with the Java, or are you using Android Studio with Kotlin? So currently you are using Android with Java. Okay, okay, fine. So can we actually use this Android Studio, okay, to produce Android based apps, and also the iPhone? Can we actually do that? So now yes. Okay, 2 years back, Google launched a multi-platform framework. We call it multi-platform framework, to produce a code base that can generate Android phone and also apps for iPhone. We call it code base lah. Okay, it's not a simple transition between Android and iPhone, but we call that as a code base. This multi-platform has been used previously by Ionic. Okay, we have Unity 3D, and in fact we have React Native from Facebook, and also we have Xamarin framework, which is available in Visual Studio. Okay, the Xamarin framework is available inside the Visual Studio. It's basically bought over by Microsoft and integrated into Visual Studio. So we have many players. Flutter is backed by Google. Ionic is backed by a company called Ionic. React Native is backed by Facebook, and Xamarin is backed by Microsoft. And we have another one which is Unity 3D. Or we have Game Salad. There's a lot of players or IDE or tools available in the market, but what I'm trying to focus today is Flutter. Is actually what I like about Flutter is actually because it has the hot reload features, whereby if you create or if you do some sort of what we call coding, okay, coding in the Android Studio IDE or inside the Visual Studio code, when you save that application, when you save the code, you will see the update inside your emulator or inside your phone. Okay, immediately. Okay, immediately. That is a hot reload feature. Okay, whereby when you see inside the Android Studio, normally you need to do some sort of compiling or debugging, or you can use that instant execute. But what I can see inside the Flutter is this tools or these facilities called hot reload. So you save, you can simply see these changes inside your apps. Okay, so and Flutter also will can capable of producing Android apps, okay, iPhone or iOS, and PWA. PWA is basically installable web application. Okay, you can install the web application inside your device, and it can utilize the features of your devices, such as or native features of your devices, such as the GPS, the camera, and whatsoever it is lah. And what we have here, the flexible dot widget. This is merely on the UI design. Okay, and one more thing that I can see, that it is very near to the performance of native apps. Okay, very near to the. They claim that it can perform better than Ionic, than any other multi-platform, because they produce what we call as native. Okay, they produce native code. Okay, native code. And one thing that I adore about Flutter is it is very easy. Okay, slightly easier to integrate additional library. Okay, sometimes if you are doing let's say you are doing an apps that can detect your location. Okay, that function you need to add additional library or additional plugin for GPS or geolocation. That requires additional library integration. So for me, Flutter is doing better than I compare Flutter with Ionic lah. Flutter with Ionic in terms of multi-platform. Okay, in terms of multi-platform, I will compare Flutter with Ionic. So Ionic is a web-based, okay, web-based framework. If you know HTML, if you know CSS, then maybe you will be comfortable with Ionic. I personally come from a developer, web developer, whereby I am accustomed. I'm used to using HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, CSS, JavaScript, whatsoever. So I also comfortable with Ionic. So I've done this both Flutter and Ionic, but because you are from Android Studio environment, I would like to suggest Flutter, which maybe it will slightly easier lah. Okay, for you to move. Okay, I don't see to migrate, to move from Android Studio with Java to Flutter. But somehow or other, Flutter is another tools or additional tools that you can install on top of Android Studio. Okay, you can install on top of Android Studio. However, Flutter is not using Java, meaning that you need to there's a learning curve. Okay, there's a learning curve that you need to uh, learn new programming language. Okay, you need to learn new programming language. But as I say, because it is multi-platform, meaning that you can do the code base once, and later you can deploy both on the iPhone and also the Android device. Okay, meaning that currently you are using Java on top of Android Studio to develop Android based application apps. So how can you develop, okay, how can you develop another apps for iPhone, meaning that again you need to code from scratch, because as you know, the Xcode in Apple or in iPhone ecosystem, they are using C sharp or something. Objective C, sorry. They are using Objective C. So maybe it's slightly similar to Java, but somehow you still need to do the code from scratch. Okay, it's still you need to do from scratch. So you can do native on Android Studio for Android phone, and the other one you can do Objective C on top of Xcode to develop an iPhone. Okay, so you still need to learn another language. Okay, why not you learn a new language, which is Flutter? But on top of that, when you learn Flutter, you are accustomed to Android Studio environment. Okay, and then by using the Flutter framework, basically you can actually produce or deploy on both platform. Meaning that you code once, you deploy on uh, two platforms or three platforms. Okay, you deploy on three platforms. So it is a one code base, but however, the benefit is you can port or you can deploy to Android, to iOS, and to PWA. So that's the benefit of multi-platform tools. You can have Flutter, you can have Ionic, we have also React Native, we have also Xamarin. So whichever you are familiar, okay? Because as I said before, Ionic is quite very suitable for the web developer because it is based on HTML, on JavaScript, okay? On you can apply Bootstrap inside Ionic. Okay, if you are familiar with web-based, then maybe you would like to explore Ionic. But if you are used to Android Studio and you love Android Studio very much, maybe you can add some more, which is this Flutter framework, so that later you can produce to these three platform. So you code once, and then you can produce for different other platforms. Okay, that is one of the benefit lah. So before we proceed, that is what we call as multi-platform. Okay, that is what we call multi-platform. So any question, guys? Any question, guys? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Web application. No. If you are doing web application, then you need to go to HTML, Bootstrap, and most likely PHP lah. Okay. You stay with that because Ionic is not meant for the server side. Ionic is only for the front end or the front. The UI. Ionic is only for the UI. If you are if you are developing a web-based application, then you stick to the server side first, which is the PHP, HTML, and the Bootstrap. Are you doing plain or vanilla PHP or framework PHP such as Laravel or something like that? Are you using vanilla PHP? You are using a Laravel framework or something like that? No. So you are not doing a server side. Using PHP. Oh, okay, vanilla PHP lah. We call it naked PHP because currently in the market we have so many framework, okay, such as Yi, such as CI, Code Igniter, and the Laravel. The most popular one currently is Laravel lah. meaning that you don't use the naked PHP or the vanilla PHP. You're not doing from scratch. Basically, you're just focusing on the system development using the framework. But that is another discussion lah. Okay, another discussion. So let's say you like to have your Android Studio can do multi-platform, okay, can develop multi-platform apps, then you need to install Flutter. Okay, so this is what we are doing currently with native development, whereby you use the Android Studio, okay, via the Java language or Kotlin, and you produce only for Android apps. Okay, that is what we are familiar to. However, if you like to have the same apps, the same idea, okay, you need to use, okay, Xcode, okay, using a Swift or Objective-C to produce iPhone apps. So meaning that you need to do 2 times work, or in the industry, normally you will have 2 separate developer. So you need to hire 2 separate developer, meaning that you need to have one Java and Android Studio expert to develop the Android version, and the other one, another team, is the iPhone teams, which require different development, different tools, and will produce different to different platform. So meaning that you have to hire 2 people or 2 teams. Okay. However, if you are using this Flutter framework, you will, okay, you will have both platform, okay, with one coding or one source code base. Okay, you actually will get 2, but doing one-time development. Doing one-time development, you get 2 platforms. You can cover 2 platforms. So that is the advantage of Flutter. Okay, as usual, if you are familiar with Android Studio, Flutter can be installed on top of Android Studio as what we call as additional plugin. Okay, as additional plugin. However, if you don't like Android Studio because it requires so many resources, because if you are running Android Studio on top of 8 gig RAM, then normally my personal experience, I could not survive with 8 gig RAM. Okay, normally if it is 16 gig, then it will be okay. But if I'm using 8 gig RAM on my laptop, then the kipas nanti akan berdesing. Android Studio obviously requires a lot of resources. There's another alternative going for Flutter, which is the VS Code. You can install VS Code and install the Flutter and Dart. By the way, the language of Flutter is Dart. Okay, it is Dart. If you are familiar with C, if you are familiar with Java, then it should be okay lah. However, the most challenging part is the UI design. Okay, the UI design, because they claim that the UI design can be flexible, then that's the way that's where the challenge lah. For me, as I compare Ionic with Flutter, I prefer Ionic in terms of the UI, because the UI of Ionic is using the HTML tag. Because I'm familiar with HTML tag, then you can proceed with HTML tag, with HTML or Ionic. However, if you are using a Flutter, there's one challenge for you to learn Dart language, DART. So you can use VS Code. VS Code is not as heavy as Android Studio lah. Okay, you can use VS Code, and on top of VS Code, you need to install the Dart and Flutter plugin. As similar to Android Studio, if you want to develop a Flutter application, you also need the Dart and Flutter plugin. So this I will share you this slide later. You can find the Dart SDK, but I'm not showing that in this session. What I'm trying to expose to you is you can actually install this Flutter plugin into Android Studio. Okay, you can install this Flutter plugin into Android Studio, Flutter plugin. And also another one, we call it Dart. Dart is the language. Flutter is the framework actually. The framework. Dart is the language of Flutter. Then you need to add these two items. Then you need to download the Flutter SDK from the flutter.dev website. So that's some of the requirement lah. Okay, that's what some of the requirements. And then you need to do some configuration, and then we run Flutter Doctor and make sure everything is okay. Okay, then we can start our Flutter project. Somehow or other, I would like to introduce you that there's a lot of tutorial available online. Most likely, the one that I prefer is this Code Lab from Google. Code Lab from Google. By right, Flutter is backed by Google. Okay, so the manufacturer of and the supporter of Flutter is Google. Okay, it's backed by strong company lah. So inside this Code Lab, you can have tutorials. You can learn tutorials on Flutter. So they have very useful tutorial and very user-friendly interface to learn how to start with Flutter. So there's a lot of example in what we call this Code Lab. So okay, so what I'm trying to use today is what I'm trying to show you today is how can we use VS Code, okay, as the Flutter code editor. So this is the alternative. If you are okay with Android Studio, if your resources is okay, 16 gig RAM, then you can proceed with VS Code. But somehow or other, if you have less resources in your PC, you have less specification on your PC or laptop, then maybe VS Code is the alternative choice rather than the Visual Studio. Okay, so you need to install the Visual Studio Code, and then on top of that Visual Studio Code, you need to install the Flutter plugin for Visual Studio, and it will also install for you the Dart D-E-R-T plugin, which is the code of Flutter. Okay, the language code of Flutter. So this is called the Dart. So before I go to online database, whereby I will emphasize on Firebase, okay, let me show you what is Flutter in Visual Studio look like. So this is Flutter. So I'll show you the code. Okay, so these are the Flutter code. Here you can see the okay, here you can see the code in Dart. Okay, maybe you will sort of a bit shocked because the code is quite long. So you can see this you have I'm currently doing this geolocation apps, whereby it can provide you the GPS information such as the longitude or latitude. I'm trying to test this geolocator plugin or library. So this is the widget. For instance, if you like to insert an image, this is an image code using the asset image. And you can have your padding. Padding is similar to div. If you are familiar with HTML, padding is very similar to div, div. Then here you have the text. Text is actually a text box. Okay, a text box. And here you have the drop down button. You have the drop down button. So currently you are looking at Flutter code. Okay, Flutter code. You are looking at a Flutter code. Okay, Flutter code. So these are the Flutter code. Okay, and then you can basically I'm doing something on uh, accessing a database from another server. So I'm trying to access a database from another server, whereby I will push a data into a specific server which is available in this server domain server kironizam.com. This is my online database, and then later I will fetch this. So I will show you how this works, but first I will need to turn on my emulator. Okay, bear with me. I'm trying to turn on my emulator. Okay. So what I'm doing inside that Flutter project is something like this. Okay, I need to turn on the location, the geolocation. This app supposed to locate my GPS location. This is the location data. This is fetched from a plugin named Geolocator. Okay, this is a plugin called Geolocator. And then this is sort of this is all sort of a check-in or check-in application, so that an employee can submit their location and what we call the category of working from home or quarantine or will be available inside the office. So this will be sending your data to the server. Okay, this will send the data to the server, and then later you can fetch the data from the server, the list, so that the boss can actually locate you or check you where is your location. Okay, so somehow or other this latitude or longitude data is unreadable. Most likely we need to improve, convert this GPS location into some sort of address. There's also a plugin or library available. We call it Places, Google Places, which is also available, Google Places. Okay, you can convert GPS data, latitude or longitude, into a specific address. Okay, that we call the reverse geolocation. Reverse geolocation. So the system or the device will detect your GPS data, meaning the latitude and longitude, and that particular API can convert your GPS data into an address. So we call that, if you like to search on that, the term is a reverse geolocation. Geolocation is identifying your latitude and longitude. So the reverse geolocation is actually to convert your latitude, longitude into a human readable address. Address lah, alamat dia. Mana ada orang baca macam ni kan? Orang tak faham. This what are these data? You cannot simply understand. If you you convert this into an address, then that is very meaningful lah. Okay, that is very meaningful. Okay, so that is one item that that I produced, okay, previously, okay, previously. So these are the you can simply click on this, okay, and your code will be executed a inside an emulator or something like that lah, or inside actual device. So you can use this and why I say this is quite easier to add additional library because my take my experience was just simply provide this inside the dependency. Okay, inside the dependency. It's also available if you are familiar with Gradle. Okay, Gradle also will allow you to add additional dependency or additional third-party library. You can go to the Gradle and add some more lah. Let's say you would like to use the geolocation punya API, then you need to add this inside the Gradle module. Inside the Gradle module, under the dependencies item. And when we have this, when we have this source code base in Flutter finish, okay, you can see here you have an option for Android and also iOS platform. So you have the folder of Android and iOS platform. So this Android folder, you can move it into Android Studio, or you can simply generate the bundle or APK from here. So this is the Android project base. So this Android project base, you can generate the APK, okay, the APK. And then using this Flutter framework, we can also generate the iOS platform. This is the iOS platform. This folder belongs to iOS platform, meaning that you can open this folder, okay, this specific folder inside the Xcode, and from the Xcode we can generate the IPA or the iPhone installer. IPA is a short code or file extension for iPhone apps lah, IPA. So that IPA, but obviously because because Apple and iPhone is actually a Apple ecosystem, okay, so you need to open this folder inside a MacBook or a Mac computer. Why? Because Apple closed their ecosystem so that only MacBook or only Mac computer can produce the IPA, can install the Xcode. So this iOS folder needs to be opened inside an Xcode IDE. So that from that Xcode IDE, Xcode is an IDE, okay, to generate or to handle iPhone project. So meaning that obviously you need to have a MacBook or a Mac computer. You cannot simply produce IPA from your Windows. You can do that. You cannot do that. Because Apple is very close ecosystem. That's why only Xcode can produce IPA. And this Xcode can only be installed in MacBook. You cannot install Xcode into a Windows machine. Okay, bear in mind, if you need to do iPhone development, you must have a MacBook. You must have a MacBook or Mac Mac computer, because Xcode version only available for MacBook or Mac computer. There's no such thing that as Xcode version for Windows. There's no such thing as Xcode version for Windows. So meaning that for iPhone app, you need to generate from MacBook or Mac computer, Mac PC. So that's why you can use this Flutter to produce iOS project and also Android project. So by doing this, you can have one code base, okay, one code base, which is the Flutter code base, and generate into several other platforms such as Android, iOS, and PWA. Okay, so that's why this Flutter can actually help to generate multi-platform apps. Is there any question before I move into my last topic, which is the online database? Ada soalan? No, And if you are doing database for your final project, my recommendation is this Firebase. Why? Because if you prefer having your own web server, or you need to rent your own domain name and web server, then you need to set up the PHP code, okay, to generate what we call as JSON data. So any interaction with online database, you are familiar with local database, which is the SQLite, whereby that database can only accessible to your own phone, okay, to your own phone. So that the data is stored inside your phone. So online database, the data is installed or is stored inside the cloud or inside the internet or inside a public domain server. So this server will hold your database and it will communicate to your mobile apps. So in order to communicate your data to your mobile apps or from mobile apps to your web server or your server, data server, you need to talk in JSON format. This is merely a sample of JSON formatted data. So it's something like this. So you need to know what is JSON, how to generate JSON from PHP. So JSON, JSON is actually JavaScript object notation. It is actually a old format, very old format, since a couple of decades ago, okay, beberapa puluh tahun yang lepas. So this is a lightweight version of data integration, data interaction. So it's something like this. Okay, it's something like this, whereby you have your field name, your table name, your field name, your data formatted into something like this. So this is what we call as JSON formatted data. So this is how you talk. This is how your phone, your apps actually talk to your web server. Okay, so currently let's say you are using Grab. Okay, you are using Grab. So your request is sent to the server using this data format. Okay, let's say you want to order food lah kan, you want to order satay. So you push satay to the Grab server, and the Grab server will provide data, okay, list of satay stalls available currently near your area in this format. So all the content of your satay search will be produced by the Grab server using this data format. Okay, using this data format. So if you are using if you are doing online database, you have either two options lah. One, you need to set up your server, your own server, and then you need to know how your server can generate your data in JSON format. Okay, that's one of the way that we can use. Obviously, you can use RSS or XML data, but that is not lightweight. That is not lightweight because the format of XML is quite bulky. So they prefer JSON lah. This is what the industry prefer, the JSON database format. Your server need to know how to generate this data format, and your own phone, your apps can also need to know how to generate this JSON data format. And then the second option, the first option is you have your own server, you set up your own server, you do some PHP code to generate your JSON data. So the second option is, why not, okay, an existing service provide that data for you in the form of JSON format. So that's one option. I'm saying that's one option lah. You have several other options such as MongoDB, which is the open source version of Firebase. So if you are using the Firebase, okay, Firebase service, it is much more easier for you to store your authentication data, something like this. You can store your authentication data inside the Firebase authentication, and they also have the data storage whereby you store your data, okay, inside your Firebase account. Okay, you don't have to set up your own server. You don't have to set up your own code, PHP code, to generate JSON data. They have the service for you, which is named the Firebase. Okay, the Firebase or the Firestore, something like that. So you can store your data inside. Okay, you can hold your data inside your Firebase or Firestore. Then you can also have your, let's say, image. You can also have your image stored inside your own Firebase account. So you don't have, that's why we call it the serverless facility lah. Why? Because you don't have to set up your own server. You don't have to set up your own server. You can simply push your data to the Firebase cloud storage, something like this. You can also provide your image stored inside your Fire hosting or Fire storage. Okay, so I have something on that to demonstrate also. Okay, so I have this facility ready. So this is our live serverless, okay, facility, which is stored inside the something like inside the Firebase. So one thing that we have is the authentication database. This is where we have the users registration. Okay, so we have the users registration. So I have here admin@gmail.com. So I would like to demonstrate an apps, okay, demonstrate an apps that optimize the Firebase security facility. So we have here, let's say I log out first. This is the user. Okay, you can see here, this is from my phone or from my emulator. So we have here our admin password and the password, which is very easy, dummy password. So this password is actually referred to inside the Firebase authentication facilities. So this data is stored inside the cloud or inside this Firebase server. So when you have the password referred from this is our client or the mobile apps, click login, then it will verify, okay, the admin at gmail.com is already authenticated. So the password is stored, the password and the username is stored inside the Firebase cloud. It's not inside your phone. And then let's say you would like to add some more activity. Okay, let's say today is our Flutter webinar. And then we have then something like this. Just provide, okay, dummy data lah. Okay, then I provide also the dummy data. Then penyelaras Dr. What's your lecturer's name? Salia. Okay, Salia. Then keterangan Flutter brief. Okay, Flutter in brief, for instance. Then I can press this to upload a photo or a poster, something like that. Okay, I have the poster here inside my device, and then tambah is to save. Okay, tambah is to save the okay, teruskan. Okay, so it says here activity is already stored inside, okay, the database. So this is our latest record, which just uploaded from my apps for my phone, and you can see here inside the Firebase. I need to see where is it. Okay, it's inside the Firestore, Cloud Firestore. So the new data has been stored inside the Firestore. Okay, activity Firebase. Mana tadi data tadi? Ni, this one. So this data, which is just been uploaded, okay, from the phone, this data is actually available inside the Firestore. So this phone, this app actually connect to the Firestore, which is the online database, okay, which is the online database, and all this content are available inside the database. And then I would like to show you the image that has been uploaded from the mobile apps, okay, which is try tengok, okay, kan, yeah. So the one that has been uploaded from the app, okay, is available also inside the online storage. So this can be done either with your own web server or web database online, or database server online, or you can simply employ the service of Firestore. So this is actually comes free. Okay, this service is actually comes free. Okay, in order for you to develop what we call as the proof of concept project, so that you don't have to manage your own server, you don't have to pay to create your own server. Because if you need to have your public server available online, whether you can use AWS cloud, or you can employ, or you can buy a hosting service, you can also rent domain name that requires money lah. But this, okay, storage provided by the Google Firebase is actually free. Okay, so currently it is free. Okay, it is free, so you can add your own project, and then you can park your data or database or your image, your file inside this service. So that's what I'm trying to share in brief. So I'm not sure the how's about the organizer. You have any time left for the Q&A? We need to dismiss right now. So okay, I have ended my brief about Flutter and also Firebase online storage. And also what I'm trying to emphasize is how can multi-platform helps you to create several other apps for different platform. So by that, I thank you. My website is in khairulnizam.com. Most of my project is available there. And if you like to know more about my project, I also have a GitHub account. I also have GitHub account with the name Khairul Nizam. You can search for Khairul Nizam in the GitHub. It is also available. All these project that I've been using, I've been developing, is also available in GitHub. You can see the code, the Flutter, PHP, the PHP JSON encode. So any question? Yeah. Ya, VS Code. Tadi memang saya guna VS Code. I'm using VS Code. Atom. Oh, saya tak. I have never explored Atom yet. Nanti saya I'm not experienced in Atom actually. I've never used Atom. Maybe they have. I'm not sure, but I need to Google first lah. I need to Google first. Okay. Sorry. I'm so sorry because I never experienced Atom Flutter. If they have developed the Flutter plugin for Atom, then it should be okay lah. Yeah, there's an Atom and a Flutter and that plugin available for Atom. Yes, they have also. But I'm not sure because I've never used Atom, so I cannot produce my opinion on Atom yet. Previously, uh, it might be a biased answer lah. Biased sebab I've never used Atom and my experience is only on Android Studio and VS Code. So I don't think I have the right to say anything about Atom. Maybe if you are familiar or comfortable with Atom, why not try to install Flutter and Dart plugin and give it a try lah. Okay, welcome. Yeah, web-based application. Okay. Web-based application. You mean IDE? Okay, my experience on PHP, I have good experience using the PHP Storm. Okay, PHP Storm, but I stopped PHP Storm because the IDE is quite heavy. So currently, I am focusing on VS Code. Currently, I'm focusing on VS Code because VS Code we have already a lot of plugins to support HTML coding and development. You have the syntax color, you have the bracket stopper, you have the shortcode to generate a button form. So it's very convenient if you are familiar with uh, VS Code. My personally, VS Code is currently my favorite code editor lah. Why? Because one thing I hate Android Studio is because it requires too many resources. It requires too many resources. If you are using 8 gig RAM for your development machine, then you can see a lot. You can hear a lot of noise coming from the fan because of the overheat. Okay, because of the overheat. My friend using the MacBook Air, which is 8 gig RAM also, when it start Android Studio, it kaput lah. Simply kaput. So that's why I hate Android Studio so much. That's why my personal view lah. But I'm also using the Android Studio for the Java part, which I left it already. I left few times already. That's the challenge lah because if you afford to have your 16 gig RAM, then it should be okay for you to run Android Studio. But if you have, for me, if you are using the Java inside the Android Studio, you have no choice lah. Normally, I don't use the emulator. I don't run the emulator on my laptop because that requires another 3 or 4 gig RAM, okay, to run the emulator. So what you are seeing here is actually Visor. It's actually a screencast software. That this you can see this is actually running from my actual device. So this is okay. So this is the actual machine linked to the Visor. It's not an emulator actually. It's not an emulator. That's why it performs better lah rather than you have because my spec is 8 gig RAM. Saya ada 8 gig RAM saja dalam mesin ni dan I cannot afford to run Visual Studio, I cannot afford to run emulator. So well, I used to love Android Studio lah because I learned I experienced Android Studio from the first era whereby we use the ADT. ADT is Android Developer Toolkit, which is you need to install on top of Eclipse. You install Eclipse first, then later you install ADT. Okay, that is my era lah. Previously, when I started doing Android Studio, Android development since 2009, 2009. Okay, I started using Android Studio in the form of Eclipse and ADT from 2009. So, well, it's quite hard to custom to do the setting, but Android Studio prove a lot easier lah. However, you just prepare the RAM lah. 8 gig is okay. Okay, you can survive. Okay, Aiman, what's your question? You kena buat ni lah, if else je lah. Maksudnya yeah, you need first if you like to have this view, first you check which device are you from, and then you display that particular view for Android. So if you check that is from iOS, then you display another division, another part, another section, and hit the section for Android interface. But normally you don't do that lah. Normally you don't do that because that requires another UI and another set of UX experience, which normally people expect you to have the same experience as Android and also in the iPhone. Okay, so this is main dot dot, which is the main screen of your application apps in Flutter. What do you mean by your question? So here you can see the what we call, this is what we call the UI, the text box, the label, the screen lah, the screen. In Android Studio you have the XML file, right? The XML file, and then that XML file you need to convert into something like this lah. Meaning that you don't use that XML anymore inside the Flutter. You cannot use anymore inside the Flutter because Flutter is a different framework, and Android Studio in Java or Kotlin is totally different framework. Yeah, totally different framework. So if you like to learn Flutter, seems like you are learning a new language. Yeah, Logus, you're raising your hands. Okay. Kalau Android Studio, ni. Kalau ini VS Code, when you already install the Flutter plugin, you can see if you're opening this main dot dot. Okay, if you this is another file which is the similar to Gradle file, Gradle script file. So this main dot dot, you can see this icon. Okay, you can see this icon. This icon is to run your apps into an emulator or device. Then you can see something like this. Doesn't matter if you are using your emulator, or currently I'm using my actual device. You can use your emulator. You can start your emulator from here also, but currently I'm running from my device. Okay, so this is, so you can click here, run, and then it will choose either which device, either emulator or either your own phone connected to you. Welcome. Currently it claims that it can also provide the HTML, or sorry, the web base. The web base is very similar to desktop, but web-based desktop application lah. Web-based, meaning that you need to open inside the web browser. So it's not actual desktop application. It's not actual desktop application. Currently, it claims it can only produce. Can only produce for iPhone, for Android, and for TPWA. Not desktop anymore. Not yet lah. Not yet desktop. Welcome. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, XML. The UI is in XML. Yeah. No, it is not. Flutter is not using XML. This is, so currently. That's one of the challenge lah. Okay, that's one of the challenge lah. We are waiting for the Flutter. We call it a Flutter Studio, whereby you can design your interface and generate, okay, the Dart language. There's one lah. There's one. We call it the Flutter Studio. Okay, Flutter Studio available. I need to check whether it is ready or not. It is already there. It's available. Whereby you can simply drag and drop. But that requires another another application lah. It's not it's not an existing tools or extension yet. Not yet lah. Not yet available. Kalau kita save, dia akan instantly upload kat emulator. Itu that's the function of hot reload lah. Okay, welcome. But currently, if you are using Android Studio, then it's okay lah. Proceed with your Java, because maybe if you convert, if you migrate right now to Flutter, then you require a lot of time, okay, to get used to Flutter or that language. So if now you are familiar with if you're familiar with Java and Android Studio, then better you proceed with Java and Android Studio rather than halfway you want to convert to Flutter. That's you can try, but that's a risk lah. It's very big risk. You convert now. You akan confused lah. This is just exposure. That's why this is only one hour punya lesson webinar lah. Okay. Normally I do training for basic. Okay. For basic Flutter requires 2 days. Okay. Requires 2 days and another 2 days for intermediate and another 2 days if you like to communicate with your online database. But still, Firebase is also available from Android Studio lah. You can also use Java coding, Android Studio to communicate to your database in Firebase. That one also available for Java environment and also Android Studio. The fact that, obviously nowadays you cannot run away your apps connecting to your to online database. Nobody do isolated apps anymore lah. I mean, I'm sorry. But the trend is going there lah, whereby your apps connect to online database. Never mind. You proceed with your title, your project currently. You're using Android Studio, then proceed with Android Studio. No problem. This is just exposure lah. As I said, webinar one hour webinar. I can only demo and do some masterclass lah. It's not a real or actual training. It's only to expose you guys. Okay. Don't try too hard. Okay, to convert to Flutter now. Okay, later when you finish your subject or you finish your project, then later maybe you would like to jump into Flutter. Then that is your later project lah, not now lah.